Hello, crafty friends. I'm Doreen DeSivas from It Begins with Ink and Paper, and welcome to Fun Fold Friday. What a beautifully hot week it has been this week. We've had weather of all different kinds. We've had rain, we've had thunderstorms, we have had, let me just change this so we don't have anything extra in our, and we're having really high winds today. So my hope is that we will not lose power. A lot of people in New Hampshire have lost power today, and I'm hoping that we won't lose any power. So just trying to make sure we don't have any extra stuff in the camera's range. All right. Hi, Bonnie. Thanks for joining tonight. We haven't seen you for a while, so I'm glad you're here. All right, so tonight I'm going to be using the Inspiring Imperfections bundle. This bundle is all about Kintsugi. I don't know if I'm saying that right, so I apologize, but it has these beautiful dies that go with it, and Kintsugi is the Japanese philosophy of looking at things that are broken or have imperfections, and they use a lacquer with gold powder or silver or platinum powder, and they seal those cracks and make something beautiful from it. On my YouTube channel, I'll be putting a little more of a description of what that is as well. But this really is my favorite suite in the new catalog. Well, it's not so new now. It's been out for a month. But I love everything about this suite. And so tonight and I'm also using for our sentiment tonight, The Right Words, which is another really favorite set of mine because it really just has the right words. I can't tell you how perfect that title is. So we're going to be using cloud cover cardstock, and this measures 7.5 by 5.5. Then I have another piece of cloud cover that measures 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. I have some basic white cardstock that measures 4 by 5 1/4. Hi, Roz. Bonnie, I'm glad that you have finished moving. That is always such a chore. This next piece of cardstock measures 3 inches by 5 1/4. Then we have the smaller piece that measures 3 by 4. We're using 2 of the designs tonight of the Kintsugi Inspiration Designer Series paper. This is one of them. Isn't that beautiful? This whole sheet has just random patterns, and they're all held together by the gold foil. And then we have another more subtle, it's just the other side of this Designer Series paper, and this one measures 2 3/4 by 3 3/4. And then I have a little strip of basic white that measures 1/2 inch by 4 inches. We'll be cutting that. So let's start with doing our scoring on our paper. So let me grab my scoring tool. It's still my favorite way. I could use my paper cutter to score, but I really love this board. And it just makes things so easy. So on this side, let me just get my tool. On this side, using the 7.5 inch side, we're going to score at 4 1/4. And that's the only score mark on this. And then on this piece, we are going to score at 3 1/4. And it doesn't matter which side because all the sides are 4 1/4. And that's all the scoring that we have to do tonight. Pretty easy. This is an easy card. I decided to go easy tonight because today was the last day of school with kids, and I am tired. There is nothing like teacher tired on the last day of school. The same with the first day of school. Day before Christmas vacation, Halloween. Those are the days that get us really, really tired. And today was no exception. Though we had a good group this week, they are ready to move on to 6th grade. All right, so I have folded this in half. Before I put any of my papers on this, this is how you make the fold. So I'm going to take this inch here, this inch flap, and I am going to be attaching this right in the middle. Now, I'm doing it the middle for this card. You could actually do it anywhere you want it to go. So I'm going to add my adhesive, and I'm just going to use, let me just move my water bottle. It's hot today, so I need to keep hydrated. I am just going to add some adhesive right to this flap. I'm going to put it on, really cover the flap, because it is going to need to hold this down. There we go. Okay. So I am going to be matching this up. So I am just going to, it's not quite centered. Let me just put it along the line. So I want a little more than a ½ inch on each, on the top and the bottom. So when I have this, I now have the fold. That's it. That's how easy it is. I have made this fold before, but I've used different stamp sets and product, and tonight I want to focus on this beautiful new in color and the designer series paper from this set. So we're also going to need some scraps of paper, and I'm going to be using the designer series paper. I've used the dies to cut out those 3 images. I also used the die to cut out this petal pink cup or bowl, whatever we want to call it. I used some petal pink to cut out one of the floral dies, and then I used Misty Moonlight to cut out that floral piece. And I actually cut that out using a die from an upcoming sweep that will be released in July. So just a little sneak peek. Okay, let's start just putting this together, and then we'll do some stamping and add some bling. Now, I don't know if you noticed in my set here that I have been cutting out a whole bunch of stuff. So I took the piece of paper that had all of the vases and bowls on it and cut everything out. Another thing I did was, because I've been cutting out a lot of gold stuff too, so I'm just going to take this little piece, but I'll take out a bigger piece to show you. This is the border around the textured notes dies. And what I did was I cut out one in gold and then just cut the border off. And I've been using that on some of my vases, and I'll show you how. I think this one is big enough. Yes, it is. So we use that little tiny one. Okay, so I'll show you how I'm going to do that in just a minute. All right, so the first thing is I am going to be doing some layering. So I'm going to be putting these pieces of the designer series paper onto the white cardstock. So let me grab my Stampin' Seal. This piece is going to go here, and then I'm going to be putting this onto the front of the card for my front panel. There we go. Then on the inside panel, I'm going to be putting this larger piece of designer series paper also onto a piece of white. I could have chosen gold. I could have chosen any of the blues, the pinks, the beige that are in the paper, but I decided to go with the white. Line this up. This Friday, excuse me, not Friday, this coming Tuesday is the last Tuesday of the month, and I am going to be sharing with you a great technique that is easy to do, and it will help you line up all of your layering. It will help with layering. So be sure to tune in. I can't be live at 7 o'clock because I've got another commitment, but I will be, I haven't decided if I'm going to go after my commitment and do an 8 o'clock or do a 6 o'clock. So why don't you put in the chat what time would be best for you to join a 6 o'clock or 8 o'clock on Tuesday night. So now I'm going to just put my piece of basic white on the inside. That's going to cover up the seam that I used to add this panel. Now I could spruce this up and put designer series paper on the inside too. I'm going to leave it blank for right now, and I'm going to spruce up this front layer. So to start with, I'm just seeing if I've got my silicone mat somewhere. I have 2 of them. Here it is. Okay, so I'm going to start using some glue. So one of the things I've been doing with this is adding this band around the neck of the vase. Isn't that really cute? So what I'm going to do is take my tweezers so I can hold this. I'm going to put just a little bit of liquid adhesive on it. Oh, well, that's a lot that just came out. Okay, I'm just going to sponge a little bit of that off. It's a brand new bottle of adhesive, and I'll tell you, it's been coming out pretty fast. So I'll take that off and just use a little bit of it. Whoops. Just move that so it's nice and straight. There we go. And then I'm just going to use my snips to cut that off. So I have a little bit on this side. And a little bit on this side. And it just gives it such a nice look to it. So let me hold that up so you can hopefully see it and what it did to it. I hope I've got that under the camera. My video is a little behind where I am. All right, so we've got that. Just making sure, oops, I didn't have it very good, so let's try that again. That was pretty bad, actually, so hoping this is a little better. We'll see. Pause for a minute. Oh, that's better. I hope it's just coming in well enough. Okay, so that's our first part. And I am going to just take my Stampin' Seal and add a piece on the back. And then I am going to add not this whole piece of floral images. I am going to cut it right about here because I'm going to use these in 2 different places. So there's no sense putting the whole thing behind the pot. So I'm going to want that right about here. And we're going to put this right about here. So I'm just using the adhesive behind it to hold that down. Then what I'm going to do is start with this piece of white. This white bowl or cup. I think it's meant to be, I guess it could be either. And I'm going to put one here, and I'm going to put one here like that, so that they're off-centered, because I'm going to be putting the other one up with dimensionals. So this is going to go over that a little bit. There we go. I'm going to be adding my vine right here, and I'm going to add the flower over it. So let's try putting just a tad on again. Maybe I'll just use this piece that has some on it to just add a little bit of the adhesive that I took off of the first one. It doesn't need much. There we go. So this is just going to go right along here. And then the flower piece, we'll just try to put some little dots. And this piece is going to go right up the vine, like that. It'll just peek through. And then finally, I'm going to take some dimensionals, and I'm going to put it under the vase. Or the cup, or the bowl, whatever we want to call it. And this I'm going to set it so it's pretty even. There we go. Now let's do some stamping. I'm going to use my favorite ink, one of my favorite ink covers, the Misty Moonlight ink. And as I said, I'm using Sending Good Vibes from the Right Words set. So let's get the paper I'm going to use. Oh, that is not the right one. Let me grab a different one. This is better. So I'm going to be stamping it right over here because I'm going to cut both ends. So let's just get this. And we'll stamp that there. And I'm just going to trim that end off and a little bit of this end off. There we go, a little straighter. Okay, and then I'm just going to cut into the center just a little bit and make that banner cut. There we go. And that's going to go right on the front. And I'm just going to place it so it goes a little bit under the base and it comes off a little bit to the end. So I only need to put my adhesive on this half here. And so we're going to add that here. And then for gems, I'm going to be using, these are the 2025-2027 in color flat pearls, and they just have this beautiful glossy feel to them. And so let's start with one of the larger ones. We'll put down here, and then I'm going to put two of the smaller ones up here. And our card is all done. Quick and easy tonight. So let's just move all of this out of the way. And this is what our card looks like. And it's a double front flap fold. And opens like that. We could add images inside the card, or we could add another greeting, but there's plenty of room to write. We could also add our designer series paper on the inside. So that is up to you. So a fun card with a fun suite. So I hope you enjoyed this edition of Fun Fold Friday. I'll be back Sunday night at 6 with our third week of the Pretty Florals, and I'll be back Tuesday night at either 6 or 8 for Technique Tuesday, and then of course I'll be back next Friday night for another edition of Fun Fold Friday. I hope you have a great weekend and happy first day of summer. Good night, everybody.